So, have you ever completely botched a trick in front of an audience?
More regularly than you'd imagine, actually. The thing you always have to remember, Grizzly, is that the audience don't know what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
You don't know. They haven't got the script in front of them. They haven't seen, hopefully they may have not seen the show before, and so thank you very much. They don't know what's meant to happen. So only you know. So what is there to go wrong? There's what is right and what is wrong in a show. All that there is entertainment. All there is having a fantastic time. And this is it. That magic is there to is the reason to be on stage.
Yes.
Excuse. Let's call it excuse. But actually, what's really happening is the entertainer is entertaining the audience. And so what is right and what there's no right and wrong. It is only having a great time.
Yeah. Have you ever had a heckler shout out the secret of one of your tricks during a performance?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And here's the thing: what you have, some people, they're not. What they're not trying to do, they're not trying to say, tell everyone, this is how it's done. They're saying, I know how it's done, just so you know.
Yes.
It's like, some people shout out, I've seen this one before. And then I say, would you like to see it again? Yes, please. And all they're saying is they know.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Now, what you do then is you absorb it. You see, there's that. What that does is immediately you have a tension between you and your audience. It's saying, is this, and the audience is going, right? So the entertainer's job is to release that tension. So, no problem. Right, okay. Yes, so they say, no, have you got them in a magic set? Well, that's how the magic set ones are done. These are professional. This is a professional floating ball, and it's a completely different method. There's lots of more ways to skin a cat. I'm not sure how to skin a cat personally, but there we go. But there's lots more ways to skin a cat. So you can say, like the sawing wheel and a half, for real. People say, I know how the sawing wheel and a half done. There was 6 ways. Sorry, six ways to saw a woman in half, and sometimes the really clever magicians use more than one method.
Yeah.
And that is the thing to change. There's a fellow called Kanlag, a wonderful German, Helmut Schreiber was his real name, Helmut, and he did the floating lady trick. And within one trick, he used 3 different methods. 3 different methods. So, and he's segueing between one and another. So just you think you're working it out. He changes method, and in mid-float. And imagine the lady is floating there mid-air, and there's no movement. It just goes from one to the other method. And it's extraordinary. And so it's all about keeping one ahead of your audience. Yeah.
I remember watching Jay Sankey on Penn and Teller Fool Us.
Yes.
And he did the same. Penn and Teller thought they had worked out his secret, but he would mislead them, and he would use other methods. And he would make it look like he's using another method.
It's a cod trick. They're known as, you lead them up the garden path, or sucker. No, actually, so cod's different. Sorry, everyone at home. It's a sucker trick. That's a sucker trick. Sucker being the audience think they know. They have to be very careful. That's something for an older magician, I would say, in that a young magician, if you say, look how clever I am, look, you thought you knew how it was done, and it's really how it's done, it's not really for a younger magician. You have to have a certain gravitas and be able to pull it off. You see, it's very difficult being a young magician. And the thing about young magicians is always good to do there's all these finger flinging stuff. And that says, look, I practiced very hard. And instantly people go, wow, well done. Good man, you practiced really hard. And there he is, and people appreciate that.
Yes.
But if you're saying, look how clever I am, that's a very slippery slope, unless you know how to handle it.
Yeah. So, what do you see as the future of magic?
Here's the thing, that magic, you have to take it back. Magic is what people say, is magic real? Some children, they say, is magic real? Is it like, it's like Father Christmas, is Father Christmas real? I don't know. And if you think about it as, yes, magic is real, the moment in your mind that you create something, you have something in your hand, you put it there, and it's gone. Now you practice all day, every day to make that image of them believe that the ball or whatever, the coin, has really disappeared.
Yeah.
And that is then goes through and people see that. And then now people have this thing at the moment that there is this thing that people love doing things with things that are lying around, like a mobile phone or a note, like a £5 note or something that you find, or taking this salt cellar and then sort of open it up and there are worms inside. I don't know. They do all this stuff now. Yeah? It's all with everyday objects, and it doesn't. And there's this almost a fixation about everyday. You can't in historical magic you have tubes, cylinders, and boxes and modern magicians say, no, don't use a box. That's a magician's apparatus, and it could be all things. But if you do it well and right, and as it's meant to be done, then the magic still happens. It doesn't matter. There's no need to be fixated. And the thing about it is, if you narrow yourself to glasses of cans of Coke and notes and things, then there's always magic. There's thousands of years of magic history and hundreds of years of books. We've got the oldest book in history in magic here, 1584, with lots of tricks that we still do today in that very book. You see, and so what you're doing by just narrowing down to these kind of tricks is missing out on this whole world of magic. And so my hope is that the whole world of magic opens up again into a theatrical world, and where you use drama and light and movement to really create a feel and so on. Yeah.
So is technology making some illusions possible that weren't in the past?
Always. Magicians have always been behind closed doors. We're all really nerds and geeks and see what's happening in the world of technology and use it. If you see what's happening and the public haven't got used to the idea or whatever, using Robert Houdin in the 1860s, using electromagnetism and all sorts of things, when who knew what an electromagnet was in 1860? But he did, and he used them, and people were absolutely flummoxed. He was a miracle worker, right? And so equally, you can do the same thing today. But one has to equally be very careful of getting too wrapped up in technology, because you think, I could do this, and you think of the most complicated, but the great magical thinkers, the greatest magical thinkers, think of very simple, beautiful ways to do magic tricks, where you think, one magician thinks of all these circuits and wires and remote control and things. Another magician says, I'll just use a bit of string and then away you go. But to simplify, it's all about simplifying and getting it down to something that is beautiful, because magic is beautiful as an art.
Yes. What do you think about people getting away with magic when they actually use camera tricks?
Camera tricks. Well, the problem, I suppose, as soon as David Nixon was the first man that I know. He wasn't, of course, because David Devant. We have in the exhibition here. We've got the first footage of a magician performing, which on a cine film.
Oh,
yeah, wow. 1890s. It's just ridiculous, the age of this footage, and it's just 90 seconds of footage. It's pre-Méliès, if you know anything about cinema history. Méliès was a marvelous French cinematographer, and he was using trick photography back in the 1890s, right? But then a fellow called David Nixon was on telly before Paul Daniels, and he used camera tricks as well. And the issues that brought up is then people at home were going, well, what is the magician actually doing, and what are camera tricks? Like when you watch a film, and nowadays there's so much CGI, you think, what is CGI and what are real stunts?
Yes.
Because people appreciate real stunts, don't they?
Yes.
They go, wow, And so the only way to tell the difference is to come to a theatre or see live magic.
Yes.
So then you know for sure.
Yes.
So I suppose the only upshot of it is they might actually come out their houses into the real world and see real magic, which is all but a good thing.
Which it was really good when I went to see Dynamo's new tour. It was really good because sometimes when you see him on TV, it can look like he's still using camera tricks, but when it's happening right in front of you on stage, it's just fantastic. It really creates that image of magic.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's an incredible fellow.
He is.
He's an extraordinary man.
Yes. So how long has magic been in your family?
So you go back to my great granddad, and his father died when he was only 8 years old, and yes, he was left with just his mum. And he was the eldest child in the family, and he had to then go out as soon as he could. The money held out for a bit, and then they ran. Basically, when he was 11 years old, he had to go and earn a living. 11 years old, imagine that, poor man, poor child even. And he was an apprentice cooper, but then there still wasn't enough money, so there was a lodger who came to stay and helped pay the rent. And the lodger did magic and showed my great granddad Lewis how to do magic tricks. And then he went round the pubs saying, "Would you like to see a trick now for a farthing?" And performed magic, and he worked his way up from, looking at 12, 13 years old, starting in magic, to 1924 in the 1890s. We're talking 1890s, mid 1890s, and then started selling magic tricks by mail order in 1898. But by 1924, he's appearing at the biggest theatres in the world. Hackney Empire, Glasgow Empire, London Coliseum, we're talking Berlin Winter Gardens, 3,500 seat theatres. So he worked up from performing in the pubs basically as a child right away up to the biggest theatres.
Yeah.
So that's where it all started back in the 1890s for my family.
Yes. So what is your favourite card flourish?
Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to rewind here, because remember I mentioned a while back the best thing for a young musician to do is to have lots of dexterity.
Yes.
And to say, look, when you walk into a room, immediately it gives you, a gravitas. They say, oh goodness me, this boy, right? Okay. Now you go to the other end of the scale, where if you there's a fellow called Di Vernon. And you've heard of that. Wonderful, good. And Di Vernon's philosophy, and there's a lot of people who believe in this, is you have a pack of cards. Say you have a pack of cards in your hand, and I don't know, you take the pack of cards and you put it on the table, and you go like that, and it changes colour. Say. And you take the pack of cards and you cover it, and then it's a bird. Now, if before that you go, that's all this, right? Then they go, oh, he just used his hands. Right. If you just go, it's magic. So it's all about, as you progress in magic and you get older, then you are more able not to have to impress people with all this stuff. We can all do it, and I've spent much of my teenage years 12 hours a day practicing until my fingers got numb, and you will have to go through that. But then you get older, and it's not about the flourish. So, but I do like I coin magic, and I like the coin spread. So if where the coins just appear between the fingers. So that's my thing.
I think I've seen you do something like that before.
It's good fun. So if I'm going to be forced to go into a flourish, then that's what I'll do.
What year was the original Davenport shop opened?
Rightio. So mail order from 1898, and the first shop in 1908 in Marlin Road in the East End of London, and then it moved into the West End of London in 1910.
Okay. So what made you want to create Davenport's Magic Kingdom?
Imagine being brought up where you go in, and there's my mum's magic shop was opposite the British Museum in London, and being brought up in the back of a magic shop, and it's just your life. It is, you don't know anything else, do you? It's that you have to place yourself in that world. And then one day you realise that there are warehouses full of magic tricks, full of magic tricks. There's lofts full of magic tricks. There's wardrobes full of magic tricks, not just in your wardrobe, but your cousin's wardrobe, your uncle's wardrobe. There's a warehouse somewhere in undisclosed location that's full of magic tricks. Everywhere is magic tricks. And then one day you're going to think, well, what is going to happen to all this stuff? It is hundreds of years of heritage British magical heritage, world heritage. Because Britain was the centre of world magic in the early part of the 20th century. It really was. And desperately important. So what's going to happen is it has to be looked after, it has to be preserved, and people have to be allowed to see it. And people have to be able to see this lovely, beautiful magic be performed. And so then my father and I, it was back in the 1980s, would you believe, my father started on the idea of a magic museum. But not just a magic museum where you see just dead tricks lying there. No, it has to be performed. And so after 30 years of trial and tribulation, we opened here in North Yorkshire. So that is a long story short.
It's really, really interesting because I just thought it was an idea a few years ago that just popped in my head and said, oh, this would be nice. But there's obviously lots of meaning to why you did it. So what was the first magic trick that you learned?
Now, being 4.5 years old, I don't remember. But my mother tells me it was making a bouquet of flowers. A bunch of flowers appear. So you show a handkerchief and a bunch of flowers appears. Brian does it in the old magic shop. Beautiful bit of magic.
4.5 years old and you're able to do that? Wow.
Well, you didn't have my mum teaching you, so there we are. If you have when you have someone of experience teaching you,
yeah.
then something that is apparently difficult can be made very easy.
Yeah.
It's know-how.
Yes. Well, what is the biggest stage of illusion you've performed?
Right. So, I would say, I'll cut to the chase. I would say it was, oh my goodness me, it's quite a big one. The Elastic Lady. You see, it's over there in the corner. Yes, P.T. Selbit's, invented by an English magician called P.T. Selbit, real name Tibbles, and that was performed by a fellow called Les Levant, an Australian magician, and bought by my grandfather in the 1950s when Levant finished the tour, stayed in the shed. I then restored it back in the early 2000s. Back to its former glory, and gave it a coat of paint, and then performed it in summer season, a couple of summer seasons in fact, and it's a fantastic trick. But it takes it's been made in Australia. It's been made of eucalyptus, and if you know about the timber eucalyptus, it's very, very heavy. So if you take it to bits, the table at the bottom alone takes like 4 people to lift. It is just silly. And I did it for Air Malta in Malta. They flew me over, and they flew that over, would you believe? Oh my goodness me! But there we are. Yes, that's a big one.
Who was your inspiration to become a professional magician?
Oh wow. It wasn't. It was just my life. It wasn't really. There was never any question for me. It was always. It's just in my bones. Yeah. So it's just all I've ever known.
Was there a certain magician that you really looked up to then?
Yes. There's a couple. There's a fellow called Geoffrey Buckingham, who's a marvellous English magician, who was the last Brit to win the World Magic Championships in Paris in the 1950s. And he was just the most charming, gentle man you could ever hope to meet. He was an engineer, and he was an amateur, but he was a very fine amateur magician. Extremely wonderful man, and he practiced sleight of hand, and when I was about 13 he started showing me how to do it. I went to his lecture and then went to see him in his house, and he helped me enormously. So Geoffrey Buckingham and in fact Jeff McBride, you will have heard of Jeff McBride no doubt, and Jeff McBride helped an awful lot as well when I was about 16.
Final question, have you got any advice for people starting out in magic?
Right, the best thing to do is to find the easiest tricks that you can do. Don't try anything difficult. Keep it nice and simple, because if you do a trick and it goes wrong, then everyone all your friends, fellow kids are just a nightmare in terms of, I can see how it's done, and you really don't want that, because that really puts you off for life. And so what you want to do is something that you can definitely do, and you practice, and then you show your family, and then they say, oh, I can see how it's done. So you practice again, they show your family, and they go, oh no, I missed it that time, very good, well done. And so you get to a point where you're confident, you're happy, you go out and it's easy. Let it be easy, don't make it hard for yourself, make it easy. And have fun, because then you can have fun with it, because that's what we do it for, having fun.
Final thing, I don't know where they've gone, I have a deck of cards. Could you do something? Could you do a trick?
A trick of cards! Oh, a random pack of cards, here we go. So, here we are. We have two very magical, very powerful cards in the pack. This is a full pack, yes? I'm off from the card short of a full pack on. And these two queens, the Queen of Spades and Queen of Clubs, and there's an energy, a force, a power beyond our reckoning. Can you feel the energy there? Now I'm going to put these two cards, the clubs and the Queen of Spades, in the centre of the pack. There they are. And they're still there. Okay, I can stand up, you can see. Now, don't try this. You know, I told you how powerful these cards. Don't try it at home, okay? Because and you're the type. I know you are. You know, Grizzly. So there's two cards in the middle of the pack. All I need you to do now is to think of a card, any card at all, but not one of those two queens in that pack. Any card. You've got a card in your head.
Yes.
Tell me the name of your card.
Three of Hearts.
Three of Hearts. The Three of Hearts. Good card. It flies out back, goes round and round so fast we cannot see it. No. But the two queens have the power. They see the three, they take it, they pull it back with all their might. So now it has returned, but it's not where it used to be. No, no, no. It's now clutched, held, grasped. Oh, I like that. Grasped between the two queens is your Three of Hearts. Yep. Do you want to see another trick now? No, he's very demanding, I can tell he's demanding, right? And sure enough, between those two queens, here we are, between those two queens, is somewhere, don't know where, your three. Okay. I'm one of the better, cheaper magicians, yes. But what we're going to do now is the queen's not there. The queen's no longer there. What we do now is we find the queens have travelled again. They've returned to the centre of the pack, and it might just be.
No way. No way.
The magic is real.
That's incredible.
And that was a completely free choice. Oh wow.
There we are. Thank you very much, Grizzly.
Thank you very much, Roy.
Absolute pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Good luck.